All right, let's talk about webinars. In the B2B world, they promise so much, right? Direct access to leads, a stage to show off your expertise, a really powerful sales tool. But let's be real for a second. How many have you sat through that were just a total snooze fest? Well, we're going to change that. We are going to break down the blueprint for turning those boring lectures into events that actually convert. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the number one webinar killer, the ghosting problem, where your audience just vanishes. Then, we'll walk through the 4 key stages to build an amazing event: the planning, the promotion, the presentation, and finally, the post-webinar payoff. That's where the real magic happens. You ready? Let's do this. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and start with the most painful part, the ghosting problem. You know that sinking feeling? You've poured weeks into this thing, your content is ready to go, and then you just watch that little attendee number start to tick down minute by minute. Ugh. So why does that happen? 10 minutes. That's it. That's your window. All the research shows that's when the biggest audience drop-off happens. Just think about that for a second. All that time, all that budget. Poof, gone in 10 minutes. And honestly, it's more than just the money, right? It's a real hit to your credibility. So what is going on here? I mean, these are people who wanted to be there. They took the time to register. They actually showed up. What on earth makes them just click that little X and leave? Well, it almost always comes down to one of these classic value killers. That precious opening gets totally wasted on a super long agenda, a 5-minute bio of the speaker nobody asked for, or my personal favorite, a sneaky sales pitch. Look, you've asked for their time, but you haven't given them a good reason to stay. You gotta hook them, and you gotta do it fast. So how do we fix this? How do we avoid that nightmare scenario? It all starts way, way before you ever think about clicking that Go Live button. A truly great webinar is built on a rock-solid foundation of planning. I like to think of your plan as having 4 essential pillars. You absolutely need to know your goals. You've got to understand your audience inside and out, choose the right tech platform, and have your team roles completely locked down. Get these 4 things right, and you're not just hoping for success. You're building it. Now, when we look at the data on goals, it's pretty much a 50-50 split between building brand awareness and actually generating leads. The key here isn't which one you pick. The key is that you have to pick one. A webinar that tries to do everything at once will end up accomplishing absolutely nothing. And this brings us right to that second pillar, your audience. Who are you really talking to? Like, what are their biggest challenges? What keeps them up at night? If you can't answer that, your content is just not going to land. And this isn't just a nice idea. The data is crystal clear. Taking the time to build out those detailed personas can make your webinar 2 to 5 times more effective. That's huge. Okay, so your plan is solid. You know who you're talking to. Your content is going to be amazing. But none of that matters if you're presenting to an empty room, right? This is where promotion comes in. It's how you turn your webinar from just another calendar invite into a can't-miss event. This visual right here, this represents a massive mindset shift. A webinar is not a single event. It's a complete marketing funnel. You have to map out every single step of the journey: how you're going to get people's attention, how you get them to register, how you keep them excited before the event, and what you're going to offer them at the very end. And that whole funnel starts with your headline. Please don't just announce a topic. Promise a solution. It has to grab your ideal person by the shoulders and basically shout, hey, this is going to solve a real problem you're dealing with right now. To get that amazing message out there, you got to use a multi-channel approach. Email is still the undisputed champion, no doubt. Almost 80% of B2B marketers rely on it. But a really smart strategy also uses LinkedIn for its killer targeting and even thinks about partnering with an influencer to tap into their audience. Now, let's be realistic. People sign up for a lot of free stuff they never attend. Even with amazing promotion, you're lucky if you get a 35 to 45% attendance rate. It's just how it is. But there's one incredibly simple tactic that can give that number a serious boost. Reminder emails. Yep, it's really that simple. A smart sequence of reminder emails can boost your live attendance by 20% or even more. And there's a proven formula. Send one a week before, another one the day before, and then a final nudge just a few hours before you go live. It works. All right, deep breath. It's showtime. You've done the planning, you've promoted it, and your audience is actually here. You did it. But now comes the real test, keeping them engaged from that first minute all the way to the final Q&A. This quote right here should be your guiding star. People are there to solve their problems, They did not show up to get a history lesson about your company. Every single slide, every talking point needs to be laser-focused on giving them real value and advice they can actually use.
So what does that look like in practice? It means you have to avoid the boring, one-way lecture at all costs. Don't talk at them, talk with them. Seriously, use interactive polls to wake everybody up, ask for questions throughout the entire thing, tell stories. Your job is to turn a monologue into a dialogue.
And please, please, please respect their time. The data shows that 45 minutes is the absolute sweet spot. It's just long enough to deliver some serious value, but short enough that people don't start checking their email. And this also leaves a crucial 10 to 15 minutes at the end for a live Q&A, which is honestly where some of the best stuff happens. You've finished the Q&A, you've said your goodbyes, you can finally relax, right? Wrong. In fact, you could argue the most important phase is just beginning. This is where you take all that goodwill and engagement and turn it into actual qualified leads. Just look at this disconnect for a second. It's kind of wild. More than half of all marketers are running webinars, but only about 1/5 of them are actually repurposing that content. That giant gap, that is a massive, massive missed opportunity to get more mileage out of all the hard work you've already put in. Repurposing your content is non-negotiable. At the very least, you have to send out the recording and slides within 24 hours. But think bigger than that. Turn the key stats into a cool infographic. Turn the transcript into a blog post. Create a whole email series based on the content. Doing this can extend your reach by up to 75%. So look, if you take away only one thing from all of this, let it be this. Stop thinking about your webinar as a 1-hour event. You have to see it for what it really is, a complete marketing funnel, designed from top to bottom to attract, engage, and ultimately convert your ideal customers. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time your webinar ends, before you close your laptop and move on to the next thing, just stop for a second and ask yourself, what happens now? Because having a clear strategic answer to that question, well, that's what separates a forgettable presentation from a truly game-changing marketing event.